Thank you for Legitex and all colleagues all around the world for attention to us, to Ukraine, to our developments. It looks very interesting, and the very interesting case of democracy, governance, and technologies related with governance and legislative work developed in a country which is still in a state of war, state of defending its independence, sovereignty, and values of freedom, democracy. So that is why it's very correlated that in a quite challenging time of the war, defending countries fighting with a much more stronger, bigger enemy, invader, we trying to keep our democracy working, and as well as making this democracy more modern, more developing in accordance with the time, with the global developments in area of modernization, technical modernization, and digitalization. Probably many of you know that we have a quite strong vector of digitalization development, digital developments in Ukraine. We have established with the after election of Zelensky and his political force in parliament, they were established special ministry responsible for digitalization, and since that times, let's say it's about the last 5 years, around the 6 years since 2019, we have developed quite sophisticated and quite impressive system of citizens' relations with the state. We call it DIA action. Maybe it's not direct, but maybe not correct translation, but it's contained a lot of resources and services which makes life of Ukrainians a bit easier from point of view bureaucracy, old Soviet type bureaucracy, when you need to stay, wait, sign a lot of papers, a lot of justifications, and now it's many things are going much more easy, smoothly. We keep all our documents, passports, their all family affairs documents there, and you can register your business in one click in your smartphone, and so on. The digitalization of the public services became one of the priority of the current administration, Zelensky administration, and of course, first time it was some kind of caution around this country about the citizen, but now most and youngsters and elderly people are freely using many resources, which allowing us, of course, to avoid not necessary bureaucracy. Talking about the democracy, it's one of the challenging questions related again with this system, DIA system in our smartphones, because time to time the discussion around the question of elections. Is it possible to conduct election in this resource appearing? You know, it's a question raised by our international partners, including US and others, and the question of trust to digital instruments in electoral affairs. It's still one of the issue in Ukraine. We understand that in this situation which we observe in Ukraine, again, in time of war, then we have a quite big territory of Ukraine occupied by Russians. We have millions of our citizens are living abroad in Germany, Poland, other states of the European Union, and overseas. It's very obvious that some electronic tools for voting could be very useful and efficient, but still it's no practice of such wide usage of IT tools for providing very direct electoral rights, voting rights. So it is discussion, but it's the first time when we have a not clashing, but some kind of a debating democracy and modernization, digitalization in life of the country, which is actually big country, but post-Soviet country, where now we have a boom of development of different type of technologies, digital technologies, but it's most related with the military affairs, the new technologies and new innovations which we observe, and in many areas Ukraine now is a pioneer in these technologies, because we unfortunately had a chance to test it immediately on battlefield. Coming back to democracy, yes, a lot of votings, but it's not so significant, serious voting as a national or local elections are taking place in this app, this system, DIA system. Some kind of opinion polls, so-called referenda. We taking part in a lot of questionnaires, questioning, referenda, plebiscite in this resource, but it's mostly about the local level, about the renaming of the streets, for example, or some nomination of the people for some prizes and so on. Even for jury for some contests, musical contests, it's taken place in this resource. So it's giving a big chance for development of development and making more easier without some intermediary in cooperation and relationships, and I don't know how it's communication between national authorities, first of all Parliament, with the voters. It is still priority for Ukrainian Parliament to develop such tools. What's the Ukrainian Parliament today proud for? Ukrainian Parliament proud for its website. It's a website which is look like for December of last year. It was ranked as a third visiting site in the world, just after UK Parliament, which is have an annual visitors 7.8 millions, and US Congress 8.07 millions. Ukrainian Parliament is visited 7.5 millions viewers, and it's one kind of a proud of Ukrainian Verkhovna Rada, so as staffers and political members. But what we have behind this? We have behind this the challenging situation that lack of resources, making this website only Ukrainian version, and among these visitors, viewers, mostly Ukrainian citizens or visitors from Ukraine is 94% of those who are visiting Ukrainian website of Verkhovna Rada of Ukrainian Parliament. It is about the very specificity of this website. It's very popular because it contains very wide database of all Ukrainian legislation, free of charge, free access, much more, much or less easy navigating, searching, and this works very well. As well as is a big database of all draft legislation, which is now on consideration of Verkhovna Rada of the Parliament. It's also very interesting for those who are stakeholders, and it's free and very easy way for navigating and reaching this information. So only 5% of the visitors of this web resource of Verkhovna Rada are those who are looking for news, political or legislative news, or some kind of the parliamentary developments. 85% of those who are visiting Verkhovna Rada sites are those who are looking for legislative bills, drafts, and so on. It is one of the prouds of Ukraine. Second is that on the level of the staff of the parliament and parliamentary development, the Department of IT is a quite progressive, and this internal intranet and internal database is also very well developed for usage of all staff of the Verkhovna Rada. They have a much more access to different information. And one of the another point of where is Verkhovna Rada very proud is several years ago introduced a system of electronic signing of documents. It's last years is mostly paperless work of the Verkhovna Rada, all correspondence between departments, between different divisions of the secretariat and between members, registration of bills, registration of different other documents, signing bills, signing documents, signing petitions, and so on. It's mostly done by electronic signature, special system, which was developed as well as with assistance on the international technical assistance program, but it's developed by Ukrainian IT specialists, and it's now one of the biggest, biggest development in Ukrainian recent history. Of course, a third point which we are really proud, and Verkhovna Rada as a parliament and secretary of staff is proudly talking about this system of digital security or cyber security. Since 2014, let's say, about this part of the warship with Russia, it was not direct innovation, but Ukrainian authority websites and resources were under always a very strong cyber threats from hackers and other. And the Verkhovna Rada Ukraine, the only public institution, websites and web system, which was never stopped its work. It was quite well secured, and it's one of the distinction which we observe in comparison with cabinet ministers, other ministries' websites. I think it's a third point which make Verkhovna Rada website and IT system quite progressive and well developed. And now we are in a stage of a brutal war, when these threats, cyber security threats, are even much more dangerous. Verkhovna Rada working on developing of additional systems of security. And here I can say, from my experience as a manager of big assistance program to Verkhovna Rada, that we assist Verkhovna Rada with a comprehensive cybersecurity audit, which show all the weaknesses and strengths of the system, and they are able to mitigate cyber threats. And based on this audit, we assist and to Verkhovna Rada to establish Security Operations Center. They are trying to respond to these cybersecurity threats immediately by different resources and sources, and they were provided with this assistance from international partner. Another case, which is where I not see that Verkhovna Rada was moving very fastly and with some kind of a significant successes is the implementation of artificial intelligence tools in a I can say this environment, this parliamentary system. Only recently they started with using quite plain system of AI for making communication between the Verkhovna Rada parliamentary committees with the voters much more easy, much more friendly, and also it's very they utilize these instruments in case of strengthening their capacity to translate documents, translate legislation, and communicate with the partners, because it's also very important in the situation when Ukraine are on a way of negotiation with the European Union regarding its membership in the EU. Recent administrative development in IT department of Verkhovna Rada was established special unit dealing with artificial intelligence, and they are on the way of developing some kind of a comprehensive strategy for developing this as well. Coming back to services which Verkhovna Rada, even in conditions of war, provides for better communication with voters. After, actually, it was maybe around the 2 years since starting of this war. Most of resources of Verkhovna Rada were closed for reason of not make some data, including personal data of these addresses and so accessible for different type of threats. But after reopening websites and other resources of Verkhovna Rada, they do some, let's say, moderate but modernization of interface and resources and instrument tools for interaction with the voters. It's very important, again, coming back to the environment we are living in a war. So now looks they working and improved much better so-called electronic citizens cabinet, which contain electronic petition and appeals, public discussion on the bills, request for public information, and registration for participation in an open plenary session. Now it's not working because we have a restricted and very limited access to Verkhovna Rada to Parliament, but such kind of services are now present on the website, and they significantly improved it. Another kind, it's rather technical, but again, I can mention this because it was provided by International Technical Assistance Program, the state budget processing with additional IT instruments, because the establishment and adoption and debating state budget, it's require work with different sources of information, different materials from different agencies, and that is why it was on request of Verkhovna Rada, it was developed special unique instrument which allow committee on a state budget work with these different sources, combining them in comparative tables to make a very clear situation with the state budget and on a period of this formation. It's very important because it can provide some another opposite part of the working of Parliament, oversight over the public finances, oversight of public expenditures. So if this provides members of parliaments and secretariats of Verkhovna Rada with a much more comprehensive and much more user-friendly resource tools managing different figures, calculations related with state budgets. Maybe it's not unique and not very modern, but just now the Parliament developed its own agenda management tool, which very important from point of view of a political limitation of political influence on a or personal influence on agenda setting in Parliament. I think that it's allow Ukrainians to seem to have a more transparent, more access to agenda of Verkhovna Rada of the Parliament, to make all the processes much more clear and predictable, what is very important from point of view of the average citizens as well as our international partners and different stakeholders, businesses, civil society organizations, and so on. And what is, I think, one of the, again, it's not unique, but it's still, since the COVID times, Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine is developing its remote tools for work of the Parliament. During COVID times, it was developed some tools for remote work of committees. Now, Verkhovna Rada, again, with international assistance, with US assistance to this modernization, the Parliament modernization, developed mobile IT tools which will allow remote sitting all plenary meetings. But it is probably not a priority for current Parliament, because the working of Parliament, offline working Parliament in the premises of Verkhovna Rada, working Parliament directly in plenary, it's a kind of a signal and a symbol of a resistance and ability to manage work in such difficult and challenging conditions as we observing now. And of course, coming back to challenges, still, even today on one meeting with international audience, got the repetitive expression of need to review, to make it more modern and more technological plenary hall. The system of the voting of MPs in Parliament was very modern and was very 15 years ago. It was developed by Ukrainian institutions, academic institutions. That time it was quite progressive. Today, it's it was not taken, was not under reconstruction on reviewing more than 15 years. And today, unfortunately, we are observing many cases with when the system of voting not working properly. Sometimes it's happened, sorry for sharing, but sometimes it's even fire cases happen, then we have a smoke in the plenary because it's outdated system not working well and properly. So it is one of the area where Verkhovna Rada is expecting for even international assistance, because frankly saying, all this modernization, recent development of this modernization, it was due to big enthusiasm of the people who work in the Secretariat of Rada, and due to assistance, international assistance to Parliament, its capacity building. Unfortunately, due to because the situation of war, we had a quite big shortage of state funds, and budget for development. It's a very pity because now it's we see that we observe some political will to make communication with the voters, deliver a communication strategy of Parliament to make it much more technological, but shortage of resources now became very visible and have a big impact on development of Verkhovna Rada in the area of modernization of all internal processes. And this modest but very important achievement we observed last 5-6 years, still saying about the good possibilities for new technologies implementation in life of our legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. My first question just is, what I heard you saying is that one of the priorities is to improve citizen engagement with the legislative process, but that's having to be balanced with the security implications of a nation at war. How are you balancing that? Which is winning?
People are not, the average voters, average citizens are not used to apply for official websites of the committees of Parliament because first of all, because the language, which I call very legalistic, and to some extent I call it extraterrestrial. It's for average people, and it's still needs a time and including artificial intelligence tools development for making this all much more user-friendly and plain for reading, understanding. Sometimes we observe that for some polling, we were assisting parliamentary committees to organize polling regarding some law implementation. We were applying to different group of stakeholders who are related, have some interest in this area of legislation, and it was very difficult to mobilize this questionnaire and answering through official website. Much easier for web Facebooks, and it is also question mark with the communication strategy of the Parliament and development of this social media platforms, specifically now.
What I heard was that the public prefer to work with social media than official government websites, where the language is very difficult to understand and very precise. If tools like AI tools can be used to summarize and make the information more digestible to the average citizen, is there also a worry that the way it's re-expressing the legislation might be subject to misinformation itself? The bias that could be introduced in the summarization may also be used by outside agents to change the public opinion.
Yes, and that is why a very important role of some independent bodies in Verkhovna Rada as a public servants who are serving in committees. First of all, it's not battle, but it's the big desire, and to have those people are much more independent from political influence, from leadership of committees or members of committees, and to have some autonomy with explaining. And of course, some procedures still not well developed in Ukraine. For example, public consultations, which allowing people to take part in debating draft bills, and which will provide for better understanding of the essence of what these changes could be provided. And of course, even this, I'm mentioning this public discussion on bills resource in website of Verkhovna Rada. It's just commenting articles of draft bills. It's not commenting conceptual things. It's not commenting impacts and so on, so on. Still, we are. It's one of the challenges of Ukrainian parliament that it's heritage of Soviet time, that it's mostly legal language and the legalist approach. It's instead that to have a more policy debate. But I believe that a research service, which was established recently, will serve for this as a body, as an institution, which can explain different policies for MPs, because it's idea to have neutral information to politicians for their decision, and as well for citizens, because by MPs, these research service information materials could be disseminated, could be distributed to citizens from different sources. It's up to politicians how they what sources they and resources they're using.
I've got a question. So it sounds like you've done a lot of very quick implementation of different types of technologies in response to the situation that Ukraine's been in. And you've managed to communicate well, to maintain trust in leaders, and to keep a sense of community. Does that, do you have any advice for other governments in terms of things that the Ukrainian government has done that have furthered democracy, furthered that citizen work that you think other governments should look at and invest in?
Yes, I think that one of the advice to pay attention. I think that it's a process already started. A lot of governments are paying attention on this GIA smartphone system, where the collecting of different public services and it's a depositarium of different personal information. Of course, it's not accounts bank, but my passports, my marriage certificates, my children certificates are in one place. My diploma, and it's all public database is concentrated in one. And the only it's about the trust, because we were trust to this system was very limited. I didn't believe 5 years ago that such kind of tools can be implemented in so big country, because in comparison with Estonia, which is pioneer, is quite well developing, but the population of Estonia is 3 or 4 times less than Kiev population. I'm not talking about the 50 millions which we have people before war time. Talking about the parliament, well, we have I can't say unique situation. I fortunately not have a capacity and ability to compare with other parliament, but our Department of IT solution for Parliament is very, very straightforward. They're going very quickly, fastly. The problem which we're meeting with this, that regulations are not following timely. We are developing good tools, good instruments, but regulations is not present. Public servants in our culture, in our system, they are very, can say, obedient. They ruled by law. They are doing only what is described in law or some procedural things, and that is why some good ideas like public consultation or commenting on legislative bills is not working properly, because it's up to enthusiasm of some people in Secretariat of Parliament. Some committees are more enthusiastic and open, and we have a competition. Actually, we have a competition, and we have a civil society groups which are comparing transparency of the committees, and it's a good stimulus. And believe me, it could be not very unique, very special, but all this happened in situation when every night we have an alarm We have every night in Kyiv, the capital, under threats of the bombing and missile attacks. So we can share and advise many governments that you have a much better conditions to develop these resources, these tools, and keeping democracy and making this democracy more. Well, we can talk about the e-democracy a lot. We were talking about e-parliament a lot, but now a lot of things are happened. But we all, of course, very attentively look on other countries, on for example, very good developments in countries like Brazil, Chile, others. We are observing on about this implementation of artificial intelligence in work of Parliament. We are observing, and thanks to Luis and Logitech, we got information from many parliaments about how they're managing the web resources, serving as not only as information but also how they're using all potential of artificial intelligence and all this recent developments in Parliament, because we again in this case, in this area of artificial intelligence, Ukraine still is a bit cautious. I don't know why it's so happened, but it's we are very slowly coming to this animal.
I have a long-term question, but I also, as an American, and what's happened in the short term, given that we're on recording, and I said this earlier, but not all of us in America support the recent developments here and the way that your president and your leaders have been treated recently. So I want to apologize for that. But there's one thing that has been true from my perspective of Ukraine for a very long time, which is that you have an enormous resource technically. You have incredible engineers that are relied on around the world. Why is that? What could other countries learn from Ukraine in terms of the way that you've developed your technical expertise? And it's renowned. It is significant. And what should other governments learn? What has Ukraine done to develop such a powerful, well-respected group of technologists?
First of all, I would like to ask to thank all American citizens and for assistance and support for Ukraine. It's very important, and believe me, I saying this honestly. We feel and first of all, it's about the military support. It's about the other kind of support. It's very important, and we express our appreciation to US as well as other countries, our Western alliance, our friends and partners. Talking about the technological developments and far with a long perspective, I was trying to mention in my presentation that today on the battlefield we're testing a lot of new technologies, which is it is again, it's not privilege, unfortunately, but it's all these innovations we are not have a time to test in some laboratoriums. Its main laboratory is saving lives of the Ukrainian soldiers and us civilian, because thanks to these new technologies, we have a chance to destroy a lot of Russia and Iranian drones and so on, which are nightly approaching here. And because it's a new type of war, and it was always that the military development will impacting the civilian technology development, and I believe that all these startups which appear in military area in Ukraine will benefit, will contribute a lot to technology development globally. The only question which we again need and expect for assistance. It's about investment. It's resources to make this startup moving, producing and testing all this military and related technological digital, because it's mostly around this technology. All these innovations in the military, in battlefield. Now it's of course we have conventional old style weapon, but also technologies have a making more serious and significant role. And I believe that it's always happened, that it will be transforming in many civilian projects and developments. So it is, but now it's necessary to trust these people who are developing this, and they develop it not because they are caring about the outcome, about some incomes, about the benefits. They mostly now are working for victory, for saving country, saving other lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.